solihullradio.com.
Hello and welcome to Solihull Radio to Jazz Notes with me, Pete Bayliss, and thank you for joining me as I dip into my collection of jazz, swing and blues for a few carefully selected gems.
Something cool. I'd like to order something cool. It's so warm here in town, and the heat gets me down. Yes, I'd like something cool. It's nice to simply sit and rest a while. Now I know it's a shame I can't think of your name. I remember your smile. I don't ordinarily drink with strangers. I most usually drink alone. But you were so awfully nice to ask me, and I'm so terribly far from home. Like my dress, I must admit that it's very, very old. But it's simple and neat, just right for the heat. Save my furs for the cold. A cigarette? Well, I don't smoke them as a rule, but I'll have one. It would be fun with something cool. I'll bet you couldn't imagine that I one time had a house with so many rooms I couldn't count them all. I'll bet you couldn't imagine I had 15 different beaux who would beg and beg to take me to the ball. And I'll bet you couldn't picture me the time I went to Paris in the fall. And who would think the man I loved was quite so handsome, quite so tall. Well, it's through. It's just a memory I had, one I almost forgot, 'cause the weather's so hot and I'm feeling so bad about a date. Oh, wait, I'm such a fool. He's just a guy who stopped to buy me something cool.
What a great way to start. American singer June Christie, known for her work in the cool jazz genre and that silky, smooth voice she had. Her success as a singer started with the Stan Kenton Orchestra, but she pursued a solo career from 1954 and was best known for that track, which was the title track from her debut album she made with the orchestra of Pete Rugelow, who was her saxophonist husband. And it wasn't until after her death that she was hailed as one of the finest and most neglected singers of her time. Let's change the mood and the tempo and have a look at some big band music. Big bands originated during the early sort of 1910s, 1920s, and they dominated jazz in the early 40s when swing was most popular. Many of the better-known bands reflected the individuality of the band leader, the lead arranger, and of course the personnel. Count Basie played a kind of relaxed, propulsive swing, while Duke Ellington's compositions were usually much more varied. Caravan were complete with Hiss, an American jazz standard, composed by Juan Tizol and Duke Ellington, and first performed there by Ellington in 1936 with Barney Bigard and his Jazzopators. They don't make names like that anymore. Going back to what I started with and cool jazz, and one of the great exponents of the cool jazz style was the baritone sax player Jerry Mulligan. stuff. Walking Shoes, jazz composition by Jerry Mulligan, who first recorded it with Chet Baker in 1952. It's long been regarded as one of his most popular compositions. And if you go just look at the musicians who were involved in that session, Lionel Hampton on vibes, Hank Jones piano, Bucky Pixarelli doing that great guitar work throughout, Georges Duvivier on bass, Grady Tate on drums. It was all recorded in New York City at the Soundbook Studios in October 1977.
You're listening to Solihull Radio.
And welcome to Jazz Notes with me, Pete Bayliss. Now, time for a little blues, I think, and there was no finer exponent of the genre than the American blues singer, songwriter and guitarist John Lee Hooker, who developed his own driving rhythm boogie style, which became distinct from what had originally been the kind of 1930s and 40s piano-derived boogie-woogie.
Everybody was talking about Henry Swain Club. I decided I'd drop in there that night. When I got there, I said, yeah, people, they was really having a ball. Yes, I know. Booki Chillin. One night I was laying down. I heard Mama and Papa talking. I heard Papa tell Mama, let that boy boogie woogie. It's in him, and it got to come out. And I felt so good. Went on boogie just the same.
Booki Chillin, which was a solo performance featuring vocal, electric guitar and some rhythmic foot stomps there, written and first recorded by John Lee Hooker in 1948. In the early 1950s, from about 1951, there's a radio series in America called Pete Kelly's Blues, and then in 1955 they decided to make a film of it. It was directed by and starred Jack Webb in the title role of a band leader and musician.
The group decided to step down the tempo with this tune coming up. It's called After I Say I'm Sorry, and it worked out pretty well. All this time, there's been a nice melody hiding there.
1926 song, What Can I Say After I Say I'm Sorry? That came from the soundtrack album for Pete Kelly's Blues, the voice of Jack Webb and a group of musicians, including Dick Cathcart on trumpet, Matthew Matlock on clarinet, Eddie Miller on tenor sax, Mo Schneider on trombone, Ray Sherman on piano, Ray Van Epps on guitar, Judd DeNort on bass, and Nick Fatul on drums. Well, to finish this week's Jazz Notes, a track from the jazz pianist and composer who had a unique improvisational style, made numerous contributions to the standard jazz repertoire, Thelonious Monk. Hope you can join me for more Jazz Notes next time, brought to you by Solihull Radio. But till then, from me, Pete Bayliss, goodbye. And I'll leave you with Monk playing a solo version from 1954 of one of his most famous compositions, Round Midnight.